And my next guest, Michael Long, is going to be joining us. He's the winemaker at Amador Cellars Winery. They're a family winery, been around for a while. And interesting side note before I bring him on, I'm one of the judges at the El Dorado County Fair every year, and we judge the wines that are submitted. And this year, I think we had 530 wines or something. Pretty big deal, actually, a pretty big competition. And a lot of the wineries are from the Sierra foothills, but a lot of them are from all over California. We even had a few internationals and some East Coasts entered as well. And one of the things I did a couple of years ago is we get all the results that evening, but the winemakers don't find out until Monday or Tuesday when they get an email. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to call some of these guys up and let them know they won? And Michael was one of the guys I called up earlier this year. And we're going over our guest list today, and all of a sudden, there's Michael again. So, hey, Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting a little more time to talk this time. We were in kind of a hurry last time, weren't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you had a lot on your lineup.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, listen, I know that you're part of a family tradition, and that's one of the things about wineries in particular. It's one of those type of family businesses that intentionally gets passed down to the next generation, which is really even amplifies that whole sustainability philosophy even more so. But tell us a little bit of the backstory. Yeah, tell us a bit of the backstory about how you and your mom and dad kind of got that going, and what was their impetus to get it going. Because I know you worked under your dad as assistant winemaker for about 5 years or so, right?
Yeah, for quite some time. And really when they, so my mom and dad bought the property here in Amador County in 2000, and I think got in right at a really good time before this area kind of turned into what it is now. So I was 15 years old when they bought the place, so I can't say I had really anything to do with their idea of buying the property and building a winery, but I think it captured my interest and kind of drew me in, and I started helping out, during the summers in the vineyard and stuff, which I wouldn't say was the most enjoyable work.
Right.
But it kind of, it really, I got my boots dirty there and really learned to appreciate kind of what it takes to make a bottle of wine. And then I ended up going to Fresno State, the winemaking program at Fresno State in starting in 2010 and graduated in 2012 when I then took over the winemaking for my dad.
Well, by the way, I know you're just a nice country boy, and you're not going to brag on yourself, but I got to let everyone know, yeah, you did go to Fresno State, but you graduated magna cum laude, so congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I was, I went to college for a couple of years and did some undergrad stuff and was kind of planning on going to school for winemaking, but in between going to a junior college and going to Fresno State, I came back and worked here for a few years. And I think when I finally went back to school and went to Fresno State, I wasn't going to college to go to college. I was going to learn about winemaking and really kind of elevate my knowledge. So I think that really helped is I wasn't just going to college because it was the next thing to do. I was going with a purpose. That's good.
So, yeah, that really makes a big difference in anything that you choose to do in life. So good for you. Congratulations. Well, I'm glad that you went that direction, but you brought up the muddy boots thing. A lot of folks don't realize, we're sitting here enjoying some wine right now, and a lot of folks don't realize that what goes into actually getting that into your glass. And a lot of it is farming. I mean, a lot of people might start off with loving wine or learning how to make wine, but it really does start out in the vineyard. And you guys have 15 or 20 acres out there?
Yeah. We have 16 acres planted under wine grape, and then we have a few acres of walnut trees, an acre of olives. It's a 22 acre site. But absolutely the focus is wine grape. And, I tell customers all the time, we really don't work magic in the winery. We're starting with really what we do to make a good wine is start with a really good quality grape. Mm-hmm. It's like when you're going to cook a nice meal. If you start with good ingredients and you kind of know what to do with them, there's a good chance you're going to make something that's delicious. If you're starting with average ingredients, even if you know what you're doing, you're probably not going to make something that's just outstanding. So, it is, growing good grape making good wine. It's all about starting with good ingredients.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that's where the farming really comes in. So, I know you guys take a lot of pains, in a good way to take care of the land and to make sure that all happens. We got a couple of minutes before we take a break. We're going to keep coming back to you, but I wanted to give somebody something to think about is some of the, varietals that you guys are known for. Now, for people that aren't familiar with the Sierra foothills, there's different, clearly there's different elevations, there's different sort of soil compositions, et cetera. You guys happen to be sitting at about 1,500 feet in sort of the Shenandoah Valley region, which I think is sort of decomposed granite for the most part?
Yeah, it's almost exclusively decomposed granite. There's different degrees of decomposition. There's some sandier parts of our vineyard, some parts of our vineyard in the lower lying areas that have a little bit more clay. So the clay areas are going to have a little bit more water retention. You just have to farm them accordingly and maybe plant them accordingly as well on appropriate rootstock, which is something you got to think about. Some rootstock do really well in sandier soils. Some do well better in clay. And so, thinking a little bit about what the site that you're planting something, the varietal, and not just the varietal, but the rootstock is important in making a good decision and having success with that section of land.
Right. Well, I know you do mostly Mediterranean style grapes because that's sort of what we're known for up here, but you got the Zins, Tempranillos, Mourvedres, Grenache, Aglianico, which is one of my favorite big grapes, and a bit of Sauvignon Blanc as well.
Yeah, and so those from an outside perspective, you're like, well, we have Italian, we have Spanish, we have French, we have so we have a lot of different grapes from different areas, and we just farm them a little bit differently. The Sauvignon Blanc section, we water a little bit more than the other sections to protect the grape clusters from getting too much hot sun late in the summer. We want to keep the freshness and maintain a nice, pretty fruit character in there. And so, every section we kind of have learned what it needs, and we try and farm it appropriately. And I would say every year we're learning, and that's what's important to me is we're always trying to make small adjustments to improve what we're doing.
Yeah, it never ends. Like a French winemaker I saw in a documentary one time. I've said this story a couple times before, but this English reporter is asking him, this is an old gentleman sitting in front of his old chateau with the holes in his sweater and, dirty boots and the whole 9 yards. And he's sitting there asking, what's the key to wine making? And he's like 5th generation winemaker. And he goes, well, the key to winemaking is you make wine for 50 years and then you die. So basically, you never get it right. You're always improving it, and you're passing it on to the next guy, and then that's his load to carry, too. Well, listen, we're talking with Michael Long right now of Amador Cellars. We're going to take a short break and come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on up there with the Big Crush Festival. I'm Mike Rayford. You're listening to In Search of the Good Life. Stick around. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody. Mike Rayford here. We're In Search of the Good Life every Saturday from 2 to 4 here on KMYC out in the Sierra foothills. But as you know, and you're probably listening to it now, on some sort of device. So welcome to the show via the Internet. Gosh, where would we be without the Internet these days? I mean, I guess you'd only hear me if you're 50 miles away or less. So anyway, welcome back to the show. We got Michael Long on. He's the winemaker at Amador Cellars up in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley region. And Michael, we were just talking about some of the grapes that you grow, and my sidekick here, Chuck, had a question for you with regards to, I know that everything is, or I'm assuming everything has been picked by now, and you've got stuff sort of sitting there fermenting, and he was wondering, is there any indicator that you come up with this early, even though you're still a long ways off from even putting it in a barrel, let alone a bottle, but are there any indicators that are coming up for you guys this year as far as the quality?
Yeah, I would say a couple things. That the quality thus far has been really, really outstanding, in my opinion. The flavors. So basically, when you go to harvest grapes, a lot of people think about the sugar content first and foremost, which is, I would say, of relevance. But to me, the acidity and the flavor is as important or more than the sugar content. And we've been maintaining really good acidity and the flavor of the grapes has just been outstanding. So it's looking to be a really, really good vintage, but we are only about 50% through harvest.
Oh, okay.
Because we work with so many different grape varietals, they ripen at different times. So like our Aglianico and Mourvèdre are still out in the vineyard getting ripe, and then we make a few different styles of Zinfandel. So we've harvested some Zin, but we also are going to harvest more that's going to be kind of a riper, bolder batch as well. So we have quite a ways to go still at this point.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's true, because you're up at 1,500, which isn't even considered that high, but I mean, it's up there. But I mean, I'm down here looking at guys in the valley, and of course, with the heat, but I guess the cooler nights these last, what has it been, a month or so now, we've been having these really nice cold nights. Yeah. That's giving you some extra hang time out there.
Absolutely. And so I think that's a big part of making a nice wine is some years, like some of the drought years that we had, you were kind of forced to pick because the sugar content was getting so high and the acidity was getting so low that you weren't really going to be able to do much if you didn't take it off the vines. And this year we're having more options, and we're having a larger harvest window of when, you can pick and actually make a nice wine. So this longer hang time, slower, cooler ripening is actually really good for the grapes. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting, man. I can't wait to come up there and now that you've told me you got a couple more weeks, I'm going to come up there and hang out and help you do some punching down or something like that. That'd be fun.
Hey, we'll have plenty of work for you.
I bet you will. Well, that's got to be exciting for you too, from like your history and as a winemaker up there. Every vintage is different, but it's so cool that you're able. Do you keep like a journal, or I mean, how does it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can look back and go, gosh, 2010. I remember that the skins were really thin, but now because we had those 2 years of rain, and now all of a sudden we had that heat wave, the skins are thicker, stuff like that. I mean, is that how you dial it in?
Absolutely. So we keep we definitely keep kind of combination of things. We take a lot of notes. We have a lab book. So it's really, to me, it's really important to make sure you take good notes every year, because it's unlike beer making. You're making each wine once a year. And so, by the time you're making your next vintage, you better remember what you liked or didn't like about the previous vintage.
Yeah.
So it's all about, we don't try and necessarily reproduce a vintage, but if we have a lot of success, we want to make sure, and are happy with the wine, we want to make sure it's in that same realm. But we're okay with having some vintage to vintage variation, because we don't rely on our wines selling off a grocery store shelf. We rely on people coming into the tasting room and buying wines and getting to taste them, and we sell wine through our wine club and online. So those things really enable us to let the vintage kind of speak a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. Listen, one of my engineers was asking me too. This is kind of funny. I hope this doesn't get you in trouble, but this was in your bio. You guys, you and your sister started working at a winery as teenagers. How are your folks doing with all that? I mean, are they good with that?
Yeah, no, hey, we weren't allowed in the tasting room until we were of age, but let's just say, we definitely did some work, in the vineyard and at Crush, before we were of legal drinking age.
Yeah, I spoke with Ashley a couple of times on the phone. I guess she gets a little bit of credit for some of this too, right? She's been chipping in a bit.
Absolutely. My sister has been vital for our business. She is our assistant winemaker, our marketing director. She manages the wine club. So as you know, as a family business, you wear all the hats.
Yeah.
So, my mom's the tasting room manager. We have an special event barn that she does coordinating on for the special events. My dad is kind of the general manager. He's also the vineyard manager. And so, we all play our roles, and I wouldn't say mine is any more important than anyone else's. And I just get more credit because I'm the winemaker.
You're like the quarterback, man. You're the humble winemaker there. Very good. Well, listen, speaking of some credit, I want you to tell us a little bit. We only got about 5 minutes, but we got some time to talk about some of your awards, as well as some of, the vintages that, you've liked the most and stuff you got some accolades on.
Yeah, definitely. So I took over winemaking for my dad in 2013 after after graduating Fresno State. And, yeah, we've done pretty well for ourselves. I personally, the accolades don't mean everything, but it's nice to get some, if you make a nice wine, it's also nice to have other people,
recognize
experts
it.
judging the wine, recognizing that. So it does feel good when you do well. Like this year, our, Zinfandel and our Syrah got the best Zin and the best Syrah at the Amador County Fair. And that same Zin also got the best, Zinfandel at the, Dan Berger International competition in Sonoma. So I was pretty happy about that. The Barbera, as you mentioned earlier, got the best Barbera at the El Dorado County Fair. And then, we've done pretty well at like Wine Enthusiasts and places like that too. Our 15 Syrah got a 93 point. We just got word our 15 Native Zin, which is all naturally fermented Zinfandel, got a 94 point and Editor's Choice, which I was thrilled about.
No,
so,
that's really really something. So that was out of Wine Enthusiast?
Yeah, so I just it's not in the magazine yet, but I just got an email with them letting me know, and our 15 Native Zin grown on the estate got a 94 Editor's Choice. Our 15 Estate Grenache got a 93 point Editor's Choice, and our 15 Family Reserve Zin got a 92 point. So I'm pretty happy about those.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is from most winemakers I know are like you, and they're like, well, we don't really care that much about the awards in a way. But on the other hand, it's nice to know that people are liking your stuff. But coming from the judge's angle, you should see the amount of wines that we get put in front of us in each round, and we're sitting there blind, and I don't even consider myself an expert on the level of the guys that I'm tasting with. There's 30 plus, sometimes there's 50 different judges in these things, and when everybody can agree, like, wow, this is a knockout, man, and it gets a 94, that's saying something, because you got a whole bunch of different palates there that are supposedly experts. They know what they like. They know what a good wine is. So congratulations on that. So how do people find you? Now, you've got the thing going on right now, right? The Crush Festival going on. How's the traffic up there?
So Big Crush, it's one of the two big area-wide events we do here in Amador County each year. There's Big Crush, which is the first weekend in October, and it's taking place right now. I think there are still tickets available for tomorrow if anyone's getting excited listening and wants to come check it out tomorrow. And then we have a Behind the Cellar Door event first weekend in March. It's a pretty fun event too. It's a little more informative. We have kind of demonstrations or talks on different things. We've done barrels side by side from different types of barrels with the same type of wine, and you can kind of taste the difference. We've done pruning demos, stuff like that. So that's a fun event. And for ourselves, we're open 7 days a week, 10:30 to 4:30 p.m.
Right on.
If people aren't coming in, we're getting stuff done. So
right on. Well, Mike.
Yeah, and we don't really distribute, but
okay.
We're always open.
We got to roll, brother. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show. It's been a great one. Mike Long from Amador Cellars. We'll talk to you next time. Cheers. From Amador Cellars. We'll talk to you next time. Cheers. From Amador Cellars. We'll talk to you next time. Cheers.